sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
Wow, you are back in a big way.
I am back, baby.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
Live from New York, it's the show that's still recovering from eating several cookies yesterday. Brew, how are you feeling?
I did have a sugar rush after the show.
I mean, this
I had a headache for a good hour or two after the show.
It's first things
No
first.
doubt.
Today, are the Cowboys looking to draft a quarterback to replace Dak? We discuss. Meanwhile, Lakers lose to a record-hot shooting Warriors team. How devastating was this loss for LeBron and company? And finally, a special edition of Tears. Are the Sixers flying up the standings?
What did you just say? No. Are the Sixers flying up what?
Oh, I'm sorry.
What did you call it?
I'm off today.
Did you call the Tiers the standings? If there's one thing the Tiers are not, Brew, what are they not?
The standings.
Thank you.
You should know that better
I
than
mean,
anybody. Wow.
I'm a little bit rough.
I know you're a little rattled.
Sorry.
I understand,
Sorry.
Wild.
But we're going to
My
start with a
goodness.
scare for the Bucks. Giannis goes down with a non-contact injury. Now, Woj reporting it's a calf strain, bro, and his left Achilles is, quote, fully intact. Which is like getting a call from someone saying, good news, your house did not totally burn down. Return to the court is TBD. Your reaction?
Well, first of all, I think an apology is in order. Not for me.
This is not.
I know it's not about you, but it's just fair. Because you said, March 4th, when Giannis went down in warm-ups, you said he was writhing in pain and that it was something to be concerned about.
Yes.
And Nick mocked you.
No, you.
Nick destroyed
I
you.
just said it's
I don't
not
like that.
writhing. I said it's wincing, and you then conceded that you used the wrong
It's
word.
wincing, but this is the same calf, non-contact injury. And unfortunately, I take no pleasure out of this. It's like a character in a movie who can see the future. Like, nah, I don't want to look. I don't want to be right about this.
Yeah.
But this is terrifying. It's going to be at least 14 days out. And even then, he's got to be minutes restriction. I think you've got to be
Well, look, the playoffs start. Yeah, because Damian Lillard had this same injury last year. Now, there's degrees, obviously.
Yeah.
But he was out for 7 games, about 2 weeks.
And Luke, if you remember, had this injury.
He had the same injury?
In game 82 2 years ago and missed the first 3 playoff games. So he had the injury.
Jalen Brunson.
Right, the year they made the conference finals.
Right.
And so now Durant had this same injury, was out much longer, and then when he came back towards Achilles. So that's
his obviously was probably a different
right, but that's my
grade,
point is
but
I don't know we know what grade. So I think anywhere from, and I'll let you finish, but I think anywhere from him being out the next 10 days and him being out the next 3+ weeks is on the board, and I don't think there's any way to know it right now.
Well, the playoffs start April 20th and 21st.
Yep.
So that's
We're 2 weeks away.
Not 3 weeks away.
Yeah, just on.
This is obviously a problem, and unfortunately, look, I hate to say this, but Doc has kind of been looking for an excuse. He has a real one now, unfortunately.
Oh, my goodness. I can't believe that.
Unfortunately.
You're right.
Like now, and I'm not.
Who else has a real parachute also?
Oh.
Just tell you, I don't even need an olive branch. Your star player goes down.
No, it is in the bylaws.
You're a Picks free agent if that happens. But go ahead.
But hopefully this is not the case. I mean, thankfully it's not an Achilles tear. But is the best case scenario, or I should say the more realistic scenario, that it's similar to last year's playoffs when he had to miss 2 games in the first round against Miami, right? And they went 1-1 in those games, but they obviously lost the series 4-1.
Well, and he didn't look like himself when he came back.
So even if he's able to play in the first round, if he's not himself, they could be in trouble. And look, if they get Philly, especially now, they're the underdog. If they get Miami, they might be the underdog just because.
No way.
Well, with Giannis, kind of, we don't know what he's going to look like.
Well, they certainly wouldn't be a Vegas underdog unless
Vegas.
If Giannis
but
were,
I'm just saying,
and if Giannis were ruled out for the series, they might be the Vegas.
Well, if he's out for the series, they're going down. But if he misses even a couple of games, Miami has a great chance. And then look, and you talked about this, Indiana. And I get it that the regular season doesn't always, happen in the postseason, but Indiana's beaten them 4 out of 5 games this season. And that's when Milwaukee was playing better basketball. So it's unfortunate, but
all right, let me paint one optimistic
healthy
picture in regards to Giannis, not in regards to how the Bucks play, anything like that. I watched this player, I'm certain, blow every ligament in his knee and play the next game.
Yeah, right.
I watched it happen. And I know that sounds ridiculous. I'm telling you guys, when I saw that happen, I'm like, oh no, Giannis is out a year. And he was slightly hampered game 1 of the finals, and then the next 5 games averaged 37 a night and was the most dominant player on both ends. So there is a level of where, and I understand that LeBron never really dealt with calf issues, but we saw LeBron in his prime. It's like, oh, he's out a month with an ankle sprain and not miss a playoff game. And so I say that to say this level of freak athlete, which I actually don't consider Kevin Durant in that regard, because Durant's body is not the way Giannis's is, and it's not where, I don't look at it the same way. I'm not going to say it's off the table that he recovers from this differently than Luka Doncic, who's not the same athlete, than Damian Lillard, all of it. So that is the...
Hopefully you're right.
Right, and I'm not predicting it. I'm just saying it's on there's a full menu of options here. That's the optimistic side. The pessimistic side is this is the last stroke in a season from hell.
Correct.
I was about to say that.
Where you fire your coach who you won a championship
Terry
with.
Stotts quits.
Right, but I'm saying you fire Budenholzer, you fire Bud. Before the year even gets going, Terry Stotts, who was kind of the experienced voice that you were going to have along with a rookie head coach, he doesn't make it to game 1 because of a conflict with Adrian Griffin. You then give Adrian Griffin the David Blatt treatment, which is don't care that you're in line to coach the All-Star game. Right. We don't think you're the right coach. You bring in Doc. You're a disaster since then. The weird stuff you've talked about, dating back to the Pacers game ball and all of it, Dame's sadness, and now, right before the playoffs start, use the dreaded non-contact, what just happened.
Yep.
And so,
like it.
Can I add one other thing before we move on? And this is just the way my brain works, where I play a lot of what-if games with sports. But this is why missed opportunities, you don't always realize in the moment how significant they are. But the 2022 postseason, when the Bucks are the defending champs, and the Bucks are up 3-2 on Boston, and the Bucks, we now know on the western side of that bracket, the Warriors were going to get through. And to this day, I will go to my grave believing the Warriors would not have been able to deal with Giannis in that series ever. And Jason Tatum has the game of his life in Game 6, and Grant Williams and company hit 1,000,000 threes in Game 7, and the title defense is over. And it's like, oh, man, well, you know what? It's hard to win back-to-back. Then the next year, Giannis hurts his back, and you're out in round 1. Then the next year, all this weird stuff happens, and you make a trade, you fire your coach. And it's like, wait, what could have been Giannis's run is, I'm not saying...
See, I don't view it as a missed opportunity. I blew it as they weren't good enough. I mean, Boston beat them. Like, it wasn't, the Bucks, they didn't play well. They gave it up to the Boston beat them, and we've seen this Milwaukee team struggle in the postseason and lose series to Miami that you figured
and they would have played Miami in the next round.
Right, and so I hear you.
No, I agree with you.
But in this one,
I'm not saying they got
not as good as we thought they would have been.
Maybe. I'm not saying they got unlucky. You're right. Boston was better. Boston was down 3-2. Their best player had the game of his life up to that point. That's what sports is about. But in the moment, if we'd have said, hey, Milwaukee's not even going to be back in round 2 for another 3 years, you'd have said impossible. Right. But now it feels very possible pending his injury status.
Next thing you know, he's playing at Madison Square Garden.
Well, who knows?
Meanwhile, in L.A., the Warriors
or the Bay
shot the lights